Hi there once again, welcome back to Prestige Auctions. This is the video of the week where I give you my opinions on what I think will make the money in the auction this week. Well, not necessarily what will make the money, but more about the items that I would buy if I was buying and selling this week to try and make some money from the auction. Of course, as you look all around you, around the auction room, you can see there are so many different things that you could actually spend your money on this week. But which ones of those are likely to give you the best return, the best profit? Because ultimately we want to show you at Prestige Auctions in Grimsby ways to try and make money from either Prestige Auctions or your local auction room or from just buying and selling in general. There are many ways you can do this, but you need to have some kind of insider information if you're new to this of how the best way to do that is. So let's have a look in the auction room this week and let's see if there's any ways that I think you could make some money. Of course, when you look around this week's auction, there's just so much stuff. And of course, as I've always said, buying mixed boxes is often a very good way to make money in the auction. However, there are so many things in this week's auction that you could make money on that it's quite hard to choose. Now, of course, it's all going to be about what budget you've got. Now, if you've not got much budget, then of course, mixed boxes, as always. Mixed boxes are always the ones that are going to be low budget but you're going to have to work a lot harder for your return. However, there are things like this, like all these guitar amps and that. Now, if you do your research on these sort of things and look at places like eBay and that, and how much these are actually selling for, of course, sometimes in the auction room, these don't make much money. However, what I would say, and this is something I would certainly be doing as a buyer, I would be looking at them, coming in, switching them on, and if possible bringing a guitar to try them out. Make sure that the items are working, because what you don't want to do is think, great, I've got something at 20 quid, I can sell it for 50, but then find out that there's a problem with it and it's going to cost you 50 quid to get it sorted, because then you're in the mire straight away. So always think about stuff like this. Don't always just think to yourself, oh, I can just make lots of money on that. Now, I did say to you last week about buying boxes of Lego. People listened, people was in, but it made a lot of money. And of course, these boxes this week are probably even bigger. But some of the boxes made up to £170 last week. Now, clearly somebody see that there was probably a money-making opportunity in that, or was they buying it because they wanted it? See, we don't always get to find out these things. Of course, when you look at the auction room this week, there's something that you certainly could make money on, and that is musical instruments. When you look around the auction this week, musical instruments, if I was buying and selling, I would be sort of steering more towards these items down here, sort of more towards the electric guitars, because probably they're going to have a better chance of selling than some of the normal guitars. But these electric guitars and things here, often when an auction room like Prestige has a lot of stuff in like this, it can drive price down. Now, that can be an option, it can drive price down, but it can also bring in lots of other dealers because there's lots more for them to buy. So when you've got sort of the normal guitars down here, you know, it's all going to be about makes, of course. The better the make, the better guitar. But look out for things like this, where this one's going to need, you know, at least one new string and so on. So all of these things need to be taken into consideration. When it comes to buying things like brass items, trombones and stuff like that, then it's all about the make. Always have a good look on the make for that. Stuff like from Boozy and Hawks and stuff, so on. You know, them things are going to be worth more than some of the cheaper brands. When it comes to keyboards, some of the old keyboards these days, especially ones from the 80s, synthesizers and things, can be worth money. So again, research. Not something I would necessarily buy, because to me they're just too big, they're too bulky, it's too hard to sort them out. But when you look at things like these, are the sort of things that I would certainly buy. This lot number 507 in this week's auction at Prestige is all of this Mason's ware. It's all, if you see there, look, red and white Mason's ware. But look at the volume of it. There's plates, there's cups, there's saucers, there's teapots. Yeah, there's going to be the odd thing that's got missing bits and bobs. However, the bulk of this stuff here is volume. So if you're picking this up, even if you had to pay £100 or something like that, and you may be going to get 5 or 6 quid a plate, yeah, bit of work involved, but lots of money to be made. 508, 509, I went and viewed these in a property this last week. These are big cases of magic tricks. Now, each of these tricks could be sold individually. They are quite good tricks. They're not sort of your bog standard kid stuff. There's a lot of good stuff inside them. So, and in the backs of the things, there's all the instructions as well. So buying those big briefcases there full of magic tricks, there is money to be made in those, in splitting them down. When you come around here, we've got loads of CDs in the auction again this week. And of course, CDs can be a very easy way to make money, CDs and DVDs, as long as you know what you're looking at. But again, research, research, research. Don't just go in gung-ho, buying stuff and hoping for the best. What you need to do is do a bit of research. Make sure that you're happy with the prices. There's money to be made on these this week if you can get them at the right price. These Siamese cats by Beswick and Royal Dalton, and this Royal Crown Derby stuff, again, if it's cheap, always look out for this. Here's another tip for auction rooms as well. People are lazy when it comes to auction rooms. So if you look here, lots number 170, 171, very nice retro sets, very good quality ones as well with decanters and that, but they're low down. They're low down, and what that means is not so many people will look at them. People will look at them, but not as many. Royal Albert, Country Rose, volume, buying this in volume. Will say it's hard to get past the dealers on this. They like this stuff and they always leave good bids on it. So, but again, don't let that put you off, because coming to an auction, they don't always turn up. Clothes, there's some good clothes in this week's auction as well. When you look at this lot here, this is being sold by the rail. You don't get the rail, but you get all the clothes on it, and they're all good quality clothes. Same here, lot 606. So again, if you've got a few quid to spend and you're going to buy all of these, you can then take them off, sell them on Vinted, eBay and other places like that, and hopefully get yourself a few quid. Other thing this week, don't really show you this normally because it's not usually out, is the jewellery cabinet. When you look at the jewellery cabinet here, there are so many opportunities to make money on this. Now, when you look at things like gold and silver and that, have a look, come in, do your research, look at the gold prices, work out how much the gold price is, and can you make any money? Because often, I've seen it a lot in the auction room recently, where stuff is sold well under the value of the scrap. So you could have made £5 or £10 just by buying an item and going and scrapping it in. So there you go. There is so much stuff across the auction room this week that is there for you to be able to make money on, whether it be bits of furniture, some of the bits of furniture, some of the older furniture and that. I would certainly look at buying some of that this week, because there's money to be made on it. When you look in the back room, there's lots of records again. I would certainly be looking at buying those, and there you go, there's a good lot. 865, lots of 8 tracks. They can sell quite well individually on places like eBay. So again, research, 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 have a good look at everything. If you do your background work, that's how you're going to make money in auction. Look here, all the 600s lots there, all these railway models, again, can be worth a few quid. These ones here, Neo, Ladro figures, being sold in lots, because they're not worth as much as they used to be, but that doesn't mean they're not worth anything. So if you can pick them up at the right price, say 6-7 quid a lot, then you can go off and maybe sell them at £10 each. That's good profit. Lots of profit to be made across the auction room as always. So there you go, everybody. That's my opinions on some of this, just a few of the bits that's in the auction this week. I can tell you now, the auction's looking like it's going to be probably, how many lots, Lise? 1,500?
I reckon just over 1,300.
Just over 1,300 lots in the auction maybe this week. There's a big old sale, so there's lots and lots of stuff to choose from. And if you can just do the research and pick out those right bits, you could be making yourself a few quid this week at the auction. Thanks ever so much for watching this one. If you do enjoy the content, do feel free to leave a comment, hit that share button, and of course hit that all important subscribe button, and we'll see you all very soon at the auction.